Hey, welcome back traders to a trading live stream. Today is October the 14th and we are currently here looking at the overall markets as we know expected. We are still looking to see here if the market will be able to sustain, right? So currently we're looking at the market being down 1%. We had bank earnings which came in pretty positive. If you look a little closer look at that, we say JP Morgan did beat on their earnings here, reporting EPS around $5 versus the estimate of around $4.85. They also beat on their revenue, which was quite nice to see. We also had J&J or Johnson & Johnson also beat on their earnings, both EPS and revenue. And I think they also increased their dividend, which is just another boost for the stock, as a lot of individuals own that stock due to the dividend and especially the payments. Wells Fargo also beat here on their EPS and their revenue guidelines. And later on, we just haven't had any results from Goldman Sachs, but I do believe that they will also beat. We had BlackRock here, and they also beat as well on their earnings per share, and the revenue actually, was actually quite a nice beat here on the revenue. So we see the majority of these banks, right, winning, right? And what does that show us? Well, it shows that there is still economic spending, economic growth, and strength, right? If you were to have the banks miss or guided towards the downside, then that would have been, very negative news for the economy, right? It would have had a very different view for investors on the true state of the economy and obviously later on the stock market. But as long as they beat and we see good earnings, then we should have faith in the economy here. So, and there's been a lot of fear, especially right now in the markets, over the current overvaluations of a lot of companies like NVDA, Meta, for example, the majority of the Max 7, right, that are, just really high. They have really high PE ratios, right? And like I said, right, a company generally you want to be buying it when, a longer term as an investor, when the PE ratio falls below the, the CAGR of the earnings. So let's say we have, Google, for example, and they're having around 20-25% CAGR as an example, and we see that the P ratio falls to 20, then that's a perfect buy, right? We're paying less, for the earnings, and it's a discount, right? So it'd be undervalued. But here the markets are reacting, not so positively here to the overall still Trump tariff war. We are still seeing here that the majority of investors are fearful because of the tariffs, but we've seen what happened in April. We declined, but ever since then we've been up an outstanding percent, I believe more than 60% ever since those April lows or Liberation Day. So just like I said, just buy the dip every single time you have the chance. Every single down day, you buy the dip here. Let's look at the economic calendar here for today. The only most important aspect today is going to be the Fed Chair Powell speech, which will be at around 9:20, and it's going to give us a little bit more insight about where the Fed is looking, and if they're looking to cut interest rates, or what their overall stance is on that. Obviously, we haven't been able to have important data because of the government shutdown, and there's been a lot of delayed data for later this month, which just gives to show that the market hasn't really cared about that, honestly. When the government shutdown happened, the market actually closed at some highs, right? We just kept going, we didn't sell off, and it's like as if investors just brushed it off and didn't really care about that. Just gives us another sense of if investors are actually looking at the true state of the economy, and whether this may impact the government decision here. But looking at the economic calendar, tomorrow we do have expected the 30-year mortgage rate around 6%. We also have mortgage market index, not really too important. I say the most important is going to be here the Fed talk that we'll be having. We were having a lot of Fed talk from 9:10 a.m. to 11:30. We'll be having Fed Bostic, Fed Myran, Fed Waller, Fed Beige. We're having actually the Beige book. Actually, that's not a actual speech there. The Beige book, and then we'll be having the Fed Schmidt speech. So very important, and I believe the markets will be reacting towards that scenario. So we just have to take a little closer look at how the markets react tomorrow, which we do not want to see a lot of volatility here. So we saw the earnings, and then the overall market, like I said, is for example, it was down, right? Future was slide as U.S. China trade tensions, they rattle the nerves here of investors. But if you look here, there's been a lot of volatility over the past couple of days, especially. There's been mood souring, right? We were doing pretty good on Monday. There was a lot of optimism here, but then ever since Beijing retaliated against President Trump, trade tariffs, it's just been impacted, and investors really don't know what to do here. So we just have to not really ignore it, but at the same time, we've seen this happen again. We've seen what happened in April, and it was just such an amazing buying opportunity, right? If you just look at the Qs on that date, like you would have thought that this was a year ago, 2 years ago, but this is actually this year, 2025. This decline, the April lows, and ever since then we've just been towards the upside. It was just such an amazing opportunity to buy names at a very cheap discount, and currently we're up 44% from that. And now that we're seeing this pullback, I feel like we have needed a pullback for quite a while. We've been seeing very continued and very strong momentum here in the markets. Like ever since here, we've just been going up. We haven't really had any type of pullback, which I think is needed in a market. And a healthy market, we do need pullbacks. Very important here, and that's where we found support, right? The majority of individuals are always saying, oh, we had a 2% decline, we lost like trillions of dollars in a single day from the Friday declarations. But why don't people acknowledge that ever since April, we've just been going up, but just one day that we pull back, which is natural, some profit taking, right? We just make a big deal out of it. And I think that that's not the proper way of thinking, especially long term. Obviously, if you're trading intraday, obviously if you're down 2%, that's pretty bad. Obviously, depending on the share size, may impact you. But longer term, we shouldn't be impacted by those types of short term headwinds. I believe that there's a lot more upside here in the markets, right? So looking at possible levels where we may find support and actually continue, we can use, let's say, the anchored VWAP, let's say from this low where we pulled back. So we're using the higher high, higher low method, and we'll see, okay, this is where we may find support. I think that's where we found support yesterday when we bounced off. So we'll leave that level there. So on the daily, the market does look strong. Let's look at for example, the 5-minute chart here, and that's where we're currently finding some buyers around that zone. And let's put the pre-market high, which is here, and the pre-market low, put it there. That's where it is. So the best way to trade the market is that if we have a break below this, is to the short side. If we have something like this, right? So let's say we open like that, we have that, and then we break below. This would be, and then we come back and test it like that. That would be an initiation to go short with the stop loss around the most recent and relevant lower high, or even here. That would be and we would target more downside, but in case, let's say we we go up, and that's a lot of move though, but it is possible. We know you never know, especially now with tariffs and the volatility that's been it's been seeing spike. If we break above there, come back and retest and hold, that would be the initiation of the long side. So we do have two cases here. It can either be towards the long side or towards the downside here, all depending upon if the market does decide to break the pre-market low, which will break a very important area of demand that would lead towards the downside. And then if we do break this area of resistance, then that would be towards the top portion here, break above $600, which would be a very flat psychological level, especially here in the markets. So if we look here, let's just delete a little bit of this to just kind of restructure the trade here. But let's see, looking at the SPY, same thing. It's just been kind of consolidating. We did decline though, but like I said yesterday, we were quite within a range. We didn't really see any upside, especially in the markets. We were just flat. So if you traded yesterday, it was just pretty much a waste of time. Obviously, if you're just a trend trader, then it wasn't really a good day for you. We usually like to see these days where we trend like this decline on this break. So what I'm saying about the strategy here is that we have some type of break like this. Let's say there's a high, this is the pre-market low, and we have some type this break, and that would have been the initiation of the short here, and you just would have kept holding that extreme sell-off, right? It would have been a short, and that would have been a very profitable trade, obviously, right? But looking back at the past doesn't really help us, as long as we consider what the current market is telling us, then that's how we can profit off the short-term moves. So looking here, that would be the pre-market high, this would be the pre-market low here. And any decisive break above either or, that would be very important here on the S&P 500, SPY, which is very good, right? We do have a lot of options on there, which is, very good for leverage. Looking at Bitcoin, there was a lot of criticism here on Bitcoin, as a lot of people lost a lot. There was a lot of leveraged products, like 20x the Bitcoin. Like, that's just, to me, that's pretty crazy, honestly. 20x the Bitcoin. It's just intense. Let's see here. Yeah, it was very intense. It was on 20x. And if we look here, let's say towards a hourly chart here of Bitcoin, we are seeing that we are holding this anchored VWAP from the prior area. Let's see where that's from. Let's see, from this breakout. So pretty much when we had the intense move, right? So right here, let's say we put this as black. So right here we had an area of resistance, right? And we were declining quite heavily. The April lows pretty much, this February, to that decline, we reached a low of around 75,000 here on Bitcoin, and ever since we got above that, then that was the initiation of the long, and the buyers were in control. So we put an anchored VWAP there from the initiation of this very nice move here, all this. So we've been pulling back. We found support a lot of times here, and then also here and here, which would have been great buys, and here, but looks like right now we're not holding it as much anymore, which is a warning sign, right? I believe that the more a level is tested, right, the more times we test a level, so it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, the more likely it is to break, and we'll be seeing a decline here in Bitcoin, because we also had this upside move, which was about to be the breakout at 124k, but that thing happened on Friday, and just the sentiment, we just declined, right, in general. Here, so I believe that we will decline here on Bitcoin, and we'll be finding some support at this prior area of support. So I believe the level of around 103,000, and even important Fibonacci levels, I think are going to be very important. They're going to hold here, but yeah, it looks like this level is not looking very strong right now. Well, we'll have to see, right? We've been holding this level ever since August, 31st of August, so it's been almost 2 months, and yet we haven't been able to go up towards the levels that we have, the price targets that we have on Bitcoin. We have a price target towards 151,000 here per coin, but there's been a lot of backlash here, especially the volatility. Let's see. Now let's look at Ethereum here. Ethereum was a very nice, strong mover. We did, what he wanted to buy once we got above this level of 2,800 around this level, but unfortunately we did not enter the position. We missed out. We were trading, the markets to touch something else, definitively. But yeah, it's very important to acknowledge that we did have that first price target, second price target. Obviously, we're well above that, but now we're coming back and retesting this level of prior resistance, right? So we had an area of resistance here. We broke above it. I'll just take these off here. We had a prior area of resistance, which was here. We broke above it, and now we're coming back and retest. Look at that hammer candle, very, very intense here. Let's see if I just put that there. This candle and this intense volume just shows that there's been a lot of interest at that level, around $3,748 here. on Ethereum, which is quite nice to see. But I believe the market is almost about to open. We have 1 more minute remaining here for the market open. It's going to be a very volatile one. Let's look at the VIX, the overall volatility index, and it's been spiking. Wow. So once we see this, that means that there may be some bearishness here. We did spike. This was Friday. We had that sell-off. It spiked a lot. We had a little decline where we had that bullishness in the market, but then we've gone up again here, and just that's pretty weird actually. But yeah, there's a lot of volatility, I guess, here in the market. And let's see. We guess here. Yeah, this was the April low. So anytime the VIX is around these highs, I just like to buy aggressive. This is when we want to be buying good companies, because they sell off at the same time. So it's like the market's going to be open. We'll just be, let's see, almost there. Let's see what the market opens here. We have around a minute, so we have to be very, very attentive here to see if the trade can work out here and have a profitable day. Let's see. So the market did open right now. It's around 6:30 in the morning, around 9:30 Eastern time here. And let's see what the market does. So currently we allow the market to trade around for 30 minutes, around 15 to 30 minutes to let it cool down. A lot of imbalances, a lot of institutions and orders, they try to get the filled at the beginning of the day, right? And then that's where we can, if there's a downside and there's a reversion, we can catch that and, go long. Or if there is some type of, let's say upside and then there's a reversion toward the downside, like, we reverse the upside trend, right? We fail, let's say, an important level of, support, which would be, let's say this. So we fall back and we fail that. This break of this level here would signify to us that there is, not a lot of interest in the buyers, right? And that would be the initiation of the short position there in the markets. But right now we're just seeing this here on the 5-minute chart. The interval, obviously the market is down. We are around 1.25, 1.25% down. We'll be putting some indicators. We'll be putting the 50 EMA here. So let's put some EMAs. Let's see. We will be putting the 50 EMA to kind of get a better general idea of where the trend is and how strong it is. Put that as, very thick. We'll put that there, 50, perfect. So, okay, so have been finding some resistance at the 50. And that's actually where we rejected at the beginning of the pre-market around 1 in the morning. We rejected that 50 EMA. Very interesting. Very, very interesting there. Yeah, honestly, break above here would possibly be the best outcome. But yeah, pretty much everything opened in the red. I mean, look at here the right side. We have the SPY down. We have, Bitcoin down, Ethereum down, Amazon down. AMD was the only one that's been up because of that deal with, I believe, was it Oracle? I believe. What was that? Oh, shoot. That was that deal with Oracle. But yeah, we'll see. Then there's NVDA. Very intense sell-off here on NVIDIA. It broke below the pre-market low here, so this may be a selling opportunity. We'll have to see. Very, very intense. Unless buyers, they fake us out here and they actually buy. They bring it out on purpose and they buy it. Tesla, not so aggressive. Actually found a lot of support here. IBIT down 4%. Let's see. Yeah. And the majority of the names here, even, Taiwan Semi down. ASML down, not too bad at 1%. Palantir, yeah, so majority of these names are down. Even Google is down, yeah, but not a full percent. It's 0.8, so it's not too bad here in the markets. But let's look towards here, the triple Qs here, and even NVIDIA. This actually this is very interesting here. So damn, look at that sell off. Oof, very, very intense there. 184 to 182, $2 drop immediately within the first 5 minutes of the trading day. Just intense momentum there. We'll have to see. This could be a potential trade. I think in order to have a better insight on this, we'll be using the pivot points to gauge the levels. Okay, so this is S3. S4, we may find a reversion here because it would be overextended, although we can still continue to sell off towards these levels of S5 or even S4. So we just have to be patient and just wait. So Actually, we'll be looking at NVDA. I think there's more movement in NVIDIA than the triple Q, so we'll be looking to trade this name. So we'll be marking the pre-market high, the pre-market low. We'll put it as green because that's what it is, the pre-market low of support, and we broke that very, very intensely actually here within the first 5 minutes. And yeah, just look at that volume, right? The volume so far on the day is 7.85 million shares here. The average volume is 171. This is obviously a very traded, very popular name, especially as it's the leader of this whole AI revolution. The market cap now is 4.4 trillion. Outstanding, right? I remember that when this company was a 2 trillion market cap company, and even 4 trillion, but now we're close to 5 trillion. It's just amazing to see the upside momentum of here of NVIDIA. Let's see, and earnings are not too far off, right? I think it's towards the end or the beginning of November. I'm not too sure. Let's see if we look at the earnings. Oh yeah, here it's towards the 19th of November. So we still got a while, around a little bit more than a month towards those important areas there. So yeah, we are selling off actually look at the 1 hourly. Look to see if you find some support. So we are declining though. Let's look at the 5 minute. Alright, this may be a little short-term bounce, obviously after breaking below that area of demand there, around 183 here in the market, but we are confident though in the upside. Let's see. Yeah, and honestly, the majority of thing, when you're trading, you have to be just very patient. Sometimes when you're looking to have a trend or a trade, you just don't get in automatically. You have to just be patient until the market or whatever you're trading tells you to get in, because if you get in too early, you lose a lot of money, you get stopped out, or if you get in too late, you miss out on the move and then you get stopped out again, right? So also, if you enter a trend very late, then you do see that downside pressure, right? You start seeing the sellers taking profits, and it is not a good thing. It's not a good idea though to get involved at that high. Yeah, but these are the most recent news though. That's the thing though. So for example, if we look here at the news, it says China is restricting semiconductor imports, impacting NVIDIA sales. The company expects no revenue from China this quarter, which is not so good news. Obviously, they can still grow as a company by gaining more market share in China, obviously, but with these regulations, it looks like there's not a lot of room for growth there, especially in that area of the market. And let's see, potentially resulting in a $2 billion to $5 billion loss. That's not too good here, the revenue. Although NVIDIA does plan to invest $100 billion in OpenAI's data centers as competition rises in the AI hardware. OpenAI deal with Broadcom may affect NVIDIA's market share in AI accelerators. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think that NVIDIA is obviously the leader for now, but over time, I think it's going to be losing market share against competitors like, AMD. You can do it cheaper, let's say Broadcom, but eventually, as there's just still more demand, I would say the best play is ASML, which, this company, they're the ones that provide the manufacturing equipment, that TSM uses, Taiwan Semi, that the majority of all these, chip designers use to, fabricate their chips. So as long as, it doesn't really matter who's getting market share, ASML is going to be greatly benefited by this expansion of AI and, this boom, right? So, you guys know I've been really bullish on that company, ever since they reported earnings there. So let's see. 124% revenue growth. Yeah, it's a very, very big. Exponential, pretty much. That's a lot of growth there. And they have been buying back their shares, which is good. But we'll see here. Okay, we're still declining quite strongly. How's the market doing? Now we're declining again as well. Yeah, we're declining quite heavily here. Although we are finding, a little bit of buyers there, a little bit of support around that zone. Let's see. Interesting. There's some buyers coming in at this low, at 180, this S4 level. Just see that wick, that candle? Very, very important there. Now this could be the initiation of the long position. Look at that, look at that, look at that intense buying. Wow. A lot of buyers are at 180. At 180 flat. Interesting. A lot of buyers there. We'll have to see what the next candles do. I would like to see the candles do this. So for example, close, like, just hold that and then have some type of candle like that form above. That would be, that there's some curl, there's some upside. So that's what I would like to see here on NVDA in order to enter the trade. Interesting. That was a nice rebound, I will not lie. Let's look at the hourly longer term time frame. Let's look at the okay, so we've been finding some support there. Interesting. Very interesting here. A lot of demand, I believe, on the zone. And 180 is a flat psychological level. So maybe buyers are trying to see what this candle does in the volume. Although, we want to see the volume candles here on the bottom as well. Let's see, it's been around almost 15 minutes. We're allowing the market to kind of cool down before entering any type of position. Right, obviously this will be a play again, play in our favor, obviously. Although the market is down almost 2%, a little bit past, 1.75%. Especially led by, the semiconductors here. Interesting move. Tesla's down pretty bad too, down around almost 4% there. Yeah, but let me know down in the comments section, in the chat as well, what type of names you guys are looking at, what are your positions, what are you looking to enter, especially in these volatile markets where the VIX is, spiking and all these, Trump and, tariff talk. So let me know in the comments section in the chat, a little bit more than that. I would love to, know more about that as well there. Let's see. So, yeah, NVIDIA just selling off there, but let's see. Very interesting. Now we're seeing there it is, a little bit of buying there. So that may be the low. This may be the low here on 180. A lot of buyers there. Okay. Let's see now the other candle. I mean, this was a higher low formation. If we just kind of zoom it in here, like that, this candle closed higher than this low, and you still saw that lower wick. Let's see. This could be though a possible fake out though. Then we can put a anchor to VWAP here, kind of gauge that momentum. Put that as a green, so if I see if there's some buyers there. So I think maybe a break above here, this area of resistance, this 180, 118 would be nice. So a break above that, that would, give me the confidence to, possibly enter the position. But yeah, let's say there's a low forming in the market, especially, NVIDIA has been very volatile. Declined around $3 in 15 minutes, which is not too bad. Obviously, if you went the short at this break of the pre-market low, that would have been a very profitable trade. You just just short it, take some profit here, and take your lost profit around this zone 179 if you would like. So we're currently and we're finding some demand here. So we're finding some buyers there. Very, very important on NVIDIA. Although this may be a fake out, and then sellers just come in and take us out again. They just liquidate our bottoms there. So I have to see there. Let's see. May place a position. Let's see. I'll probably do some NVIDIA options, some call options if this move does move, and try to target the 50 EMA as the next level of resistance. We'll try to target this level of 184.60 on NVIDIA here. So let's take a closer look at that right now. Let's see. Positions. Yeah, look at look at that resistance there too. We just have to wait, just be patient. That's the best thing we can do. I think we'll put an anchor to VWAP there, trying to signify there. So I think in the next, let's see, 5, 10, break, hold. The next 15 minutes we'll know. So around 7, that's when we'll know for sure if the market is going to sustain this, this intense move that's been having towards the downside. Just, just pure sell off and selling off. Let's see. Now, these ads are always getting annoying, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, we do have these wicks in the bottom, which do show support, but we're seeing, heavy wicks on the upper side here on the, wick here, a wick here, especially on this one, showing that there's some resistance, right? There's some sellers, present. Obviously, we don't want to buy the dip. We want to buy strength after the dip, which is very important. The volume increased, okay, to around, let's see, 554K. But yeah, we're getting, kind of sold here. Interesting. Very, very interesting there. So maybe, we're still battling out. The buyers are still fighting against the sellers here in the current moment. Okay. Yeah, so like I said, this may be the low of here. We may enter the position, go long around this break of 180, 120. Like I said, this prior area of resistance, and maybe put our stop loss at the low here of 179. It all depends here how this candle closes. Here, yeah, I'll say we are seeing some selling there. Oof. Yeah, not looking too good. Oof. That did not look too good there. Yeah, market's still down. Triple Qs. I keep looking over here, seeing if we do see a rebound. We're still down around 1 3/4% here on the day. The volume's been picking up here on NVDA. Now we're seeing around 35 million shares, close to 36 mil. We're doing a little bit less than not even a third of the average volume here on the 30 days of 172. Not even close to that. Interesting. Try to give it time. Give it time on this position. But yeah, let me know down in the chat though, what type of name you guys are looking at. Are you guys looking at AMD, NVIDIA, Tesla, IBIT, Microsoft? What are you trading? Are you going for the triple Qs? Are you looking for the SPY? Are you trading it with equities or with options? And if so, what type of option contracts are you guys currently in on the name here? So I'd like to know that. Let me know down in the comments here. Let's see. Okay, wait. Yeah, 180.57. Okay. Yeah, a lot of upper wicks. I'm not liking that at all. If this is not set up, I may not enter a position. Here, sometimes the best thing is to be out in cash, wishing you were. It's better to be. What is it? It's better to be out wishing you were in than it is to be in wishing you were out. There it is. So I would take that personally, right? So sometimes the best thing you can do as trading is, if it doesn't set up, don't take the position. Stay in cash, which will allow you to place better opportunities. Stocks or any type of investment vehicle that will allow you to place those trades. It's kind of like your capital is kind of like your the blood of your investment account. If you keep draining the blood, you're gonna die. And that's what happened with your account. You keep draining if you're losing each and every single day more than 2% on the account, and over a span of, let's say, a week, if you're losing and you're not winning so consistently, 2-4% decline in your account in just a week is it's not too good, not too favorable. And you have to make a lot of you're gonna be not rational. You're gonna be irrational. You're gonna be wanting to make that money back. You're gonna make foolish decisions. So the best thing to do is just when you have those losing days, just take a break from the charts, look at something else. Don't acknowledge the markets, because you're gonna be okay. Look at that spike. All right, this may be the position entry. I like that. I like that a lot. I like that spike that we saw there in the volume here on NVIDIA. So this may be the initiation of the position. So we're going to be going long here, I believe. Some NVIDIA calls I'll be looking at here. Let's see, NVIDIA options. Then we'll go for the nearest expiration date, which is the 17th of October. That is a Friday, I believe. We'll be doing 180 calls here. 180 calls at this level. be placing around, let's say, 3. Yeah, there it is right there. Yep, there's a bottom. Oh, baby, look at that. Shee, that's beautiful. Look at that movement. Beautiful, beautiful. Buyers coming in, stepping at this low, S4. And the reason as to why I was looking to, enter at this S4 is that, it's well overextended. We have a lot of sell-off, right? Usually when we go past S3 and S4, that means that we've been selling off and we do need some type of bounce. So this is where I believe the buyers are, coming in. We are also seeing, we saw a bounce in the market. Now, instead of being down 1.75%, now we're down a little bit 1.5%. That was a nice bounce there. So we have initiated a position here on NVDA. We are long at around average price of 181 here 20, and our stop loss is located here on the account here on NVDA. So pretty good calls here. Expiration of 17th of October, and with call options here on NVIDIA, so it's not too bad there. So yeah, I think this is the bottom. This may be the bottom here, and it's looking quite well. I like this, when it starts to round up just like that. It's just, seeing this round bottom, that's just beautiful, I think, right? So very, very important trade there. And just, it's a good way to start the morning. It just gets me hyped up, especially. Let's see. So yeah, we'll target this area as resistance. We'll target that towards our price target 184 and 30 cents, which is around the 50 EMA here. This yellow dotted line there on my chart. Dun, 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 dun. Volume spiked up. Let's see, now we're doing 36 mil in volume. Yeah, looks like it's looking pretty good. Like I said, sometimes the best thing you can do is allow the market to open, give it around 5-10 minutes depending on your time frame where you're trading, and allow the the initial orders, allow them to get filled, right? So in this case, a lot of sell orders at the beginning of the day, allow those to get filled and allow those sellers to get exhausted and get those buyers that are looking to buy and just buy the strength after the dip, right? So if you're starting to see that there's an important level of support, confluence, that is where you want to see, okay, maybe there's some people holding this, right? They're preventing it from going down even further, so you want to be a buyer, right? And that is what happened today. So the position is doing, let's see, quite well. So now we're trading at around 181.50, which is not too bad there. We'll just like to take profits at 184.37, which is currently the 50 EMA here on the chart. The triple Q, let's see. Let's look at the hourly. Hour. Let's see. Let's play some fibs. See if that's a level that's gonna hold. Yep. It's a matter of time here, especially within the markets there. Very important. Lower wicks.
not my problem. This bitch put my shit over here.
Interesting. So yes, there are some buyers there. There are some buyers. Yeah, because like we dipped below, right? We had this very intense selling candle, then we had this lower wick again. So let's see. Yeah, it just gives me more confidence in the position, I'd say. So we'll see on NVDA here what happens. Volume really hasn't picked up. Still 36 mil, approaching 37 mil. There, but not too bad there. Let's see what Bitcoin is doing. Let's let the position run and see what Bitcoin is doing there. Let's see, Bitcoin also seen a spike up, kind of encountering some short-term resistance there in right on the 50 EMA. But like I said, right, you can't be plotting on Bitcoin pre-market lows, pre-market highs because it's a 24/7 market there. But yeah, we've been seeing some resistance. Last time we found resistance there was around 4:30 in the morning there on today Tuesday, but not too bad there. Ethereum also is finding some resistance there. Amazon, nice bounce there on Amazon there at that low. Most of the names are bouncing, so that's nice to see. Let's see, AMD also bouncing off the 50 EMA, quite nice there. Very, very beautiful trade there. Let's see, see what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm trying to reiterate here, especially, to acknowledge that when you're trading, right? You see, okay, a very important level of support, you see the 50, and you see all these wicks, 1, 2, 3. That just gives us, it should give you, the trader, right, a sign that, hey, there's some buyers here I should be buying. And, if you enter the position at 216, then you're $3 in the money, right? So it's quite nice to see, especially if you got options on this thing. A lot of good signs out there. NVIDIA looks like it's taking a water bounce there. Tesla kind of seen the bounce though, but yeah, not too much there. IBIT, I mean, I've seen Tesla, it hasn't been really leading the market, or hasn't really been following the market at all. It's just been, declining over time. If you look at IBIT here, rising. Microsoft, ooh, very nice bounce off Microsoft. Look at that. Now we're encountering some resistance at the 50 EMA here, short term, but that was very short lived. We saw those two wicks there, a wick here and a wick here. That should have signaled that there was buyers at 506. Would have been the initiation there of the long position there on here on Microsoft. Let's see what Webull is doing. Honestly, for Webull, I believe this name has a lot of upside to go, but it's not ready yet. I believe this name is going to be like Robinhood, right? It's just a direct competitor to Robinhood, and we've been seeing Robinhood stock how it's been performing, right? But I believe that if the stock breaks above $15 here, 14, it's gonna just go crazy, go bonanzas, and you can play this, I think very cheaply with some options contracts. We IPO'd. Let's see where it was. We IPO'd on the, what was like in the earlier, right? April, yeah, April lows, and we went up all the way to around $679 in a day. Just outstanding there. Now we've been selling off. We haven't undercut the IPO low yet, but I believe usually what happens here, we undercut the IPO low, and then we generally find some buyers here that pick up the name. But I believe that break above that, this IPO anchored VWAP, pretty much the average price of entry of those people, then that's where Robinhood, Webull has a lot of upside to go towards, let's say, $18, and the next area of resistance towards $34. If you place this thing with options, it's going to be just amazing, and their earnings are not too bad. I mean, obviously they're kind of volatile though, but as I would say, as a trade, it's going to be very good when this name sets up. When people start buying this name, institutions start realizing, then that is where I believe it'll start pumping there. But so far, it hasn't. It hasn't so far. Let's look at the 5 minute here on Netflix. Netflix also seen a bounce, and they have earnings in 7 days. But obviously, this name is a little bit less of a mover. Less volume. It's right now it's doing 300K. But look at that. Look at that. See, I'm saying at a very important areas of support, we see wicks, and when we start to see these wicks on the bottom, that signals to us that there's buyers, and we should be buying. Look at this intense move that we're seeing now. The majority is name. Even Snow is pumping. Taiwan Semi is pumping. And they have earnings in 2 days, and ASML has earnings tomorrow, which is a very key holding here. It's doing really good. That was a very nice bounce. So, wait, earnings is not today, is it? That's tomorrow, I believe, right? Yeah, it's the 15th of October. That's when it has earnings. Yeah, but it's been pumping, and I'm really bullish on this company, because let's say, okay, ASML designs the machines, high NA, EUV machines, right? Their newest model, right? Without that, there wouldn't be the most advanced chips, especially for AI. So they're the ones that design that, and then these guys sell it to TSM, and TSM is the manufacturer or the foundry, right? And then these guys' clients, TSM's clients, are NVDA, AMD, right? All these important chip makers, right? So regardless of who grows, and I believe, we'll be seeing growth in, let's say, AMD, etc., all these other names, then the one that benefits is going to be TSM and ASML, right? And then they're going to be greatly benefited by, the service, based, every single machine that's sold by ASML, this company, has to be maintained over time, right? So every single machine needs to have service on it, and that's just extra revenue that comes in. So the more they sell, the more service revenue and fees that they get. So that's really good for the company, I believe, on the long term. And we've seen TSM, right? They declared a 20% CAGR growth all the way to 2029. Then I believe ASML is going to be benefited as well there. I believe anything below, I do have a DCF valuation here on this company. Anything below $1,200 is a buy. So right now, this stock is undervalued, and you should be buying heavily. So let's see, new bookings and TSMC and SK Hynix. So yep. Let's see, Palantir also seen. So we're seeing a bounce in the majority of these names, and the majority of the tech names, and even AVGO is bouncing a little bit. There it is. Let's see, Meta. Google's been a very good investment. Beautiful investment, beautiful company. I'm so bullish on Google. Really bullish as a long-term investment. They have there's very vast channel distributions, Chrome, YouTube, search, where they can deploy their AI, make it more efficient, increase. Let's say on YouTube, right? They can use AI to give better tailored ads to consumers, which are more likely to buy from the advertisers that are using Google services, the ads, thus more preference to use Google services, right? Which just increases the overall revenue for their service, right? They can use that to enhance also AI to increase. They can just use it to increase watch time on YouTube, right? If they know individuals watch certain type of shows, they can tailor that, use AI to give more recommended and shows that I like it, so they can increase the watch time, and then most those people, they can get more targeted with the ads. And we also have to remember that there was a lot of doubt on Google, but we have to realize that Google is a data company, and I like how they have the full stack coming from the hardware and their software, their AI. They're not having to spend anywhere from billion. They don't have to spend billions of dollars like OpenAI has had to, and we're still not seeing the rate of return on OpenAI, because obviously we really can't see it's a private company. But Google has been seeing more efficiency and drives in search, and especially in AI mode. I really like that. It's really fast. It's really good. So yeah, I just couldn't be more bullish on the company, and especially I think they're going to be greatly benefited alongside Amazon, right? So I can go days speaking about that part, but yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. It's a good company. Let's see, Cloudflare, very important there on Cloudflare. It's doing around 200, almost 300K in volume. Average volume around 2.16 mil. Not too bad though. On this name, but we'll see. Let's see, Bitcoin, Ethereum. Let's see, Triple Q. How's the market doing there? There's a bounce there in the market. So yeah, we had a little of a sell-off, but not really a sell-off, but it was an undercut. So we undercut below the low, the pre-market low break, and then we found support at S4 again. It was overextended. And okay, I want to see what the RSI said. Actually, I want to see what the RSI said. So let's take a little closer look at that. RSI, was it showing us over? Yeah, it reached a low there. Okay, makes sense. Maybe that's why. Let's use go back to pivot points. Standard there. Okay, let's see NVDA. Okay, it's been bouncing, but it's been having less of a more pronounced bounce, but still it's still holding, right? So let's see, we'll delete that. Not too bad. So yeah, not too bad. 1, 2, 3, boom, 4, 5, boom. Yeah, not too bad. The market is seeing that bounce there. So if you look here at the news there, see how finance, kind of get informed on what the news might be about here. I was like, you're in a short-term ad here. Interesting. Okay. JP Morgan down. Wow. 3%. Oof. Intense, eh? So maybe, sell the news. Down, Goldman Sachs down 4% after reporting their earnings. Interesting. The banks were down, 3%. That's pretty big drop. But, wasn't that bad, actually. I believe that maybe the banks are selling off, right? We were buying into the good news expected. The market, bought the rumor. They sold the news and some profit taking. I believe, right, the banks are strong. They're still seeing continued revenue growth and especially dividends, right? They're really good at, raising their dividend over time. And, just having a bank in your portfolio I think is a very good decision here, especially if you want to have that compound growth and that dividend growth there. So very, very important there. Yeah, Wells Fargo though, that one's up. Okay, up 3%. Interesting. Very, very interesting. State Group down. Okay. Interesting. So they're just talking about the banks here, breaking them down. But let's go back to the trading session here. So yeah, we're seeing a nice bounce here in the markets now. From that low that we talked about, that was a buy, like I said, and now we're up $4. Very, very nice there. Very, very nice there. Let's see about the SPY. Obviously, should mirror it. Yep, more of a bounce there. there really isn't a reason to be fearful. Anytime we dip below, every time we sell off any on these tariff news or anything, or any negative sentiment that doesn't really kind of how do I say it, like really impact, I guess, just buy the dip, just buy the companies, your portfolio, or obviously these are really high valuations. You don't really want to be initiating like new long positions here, but you can keep I guess you can average into it, I guess. But it just takes time. It just takes time to build that full position that allows you to build this consistent earnings there. But yeah, Bitcoin there, up there, nice bounce though in the market. Now we were down almost 2%, but now the Nasdaq is down. Now we're close to a full percentage point downward, so that was a nice bounce of 1% there. Interesting. And point out AMD hasn't really bounced. It's now it's pulled back here. Interesting. Let's see MSFT. I saw that bounce there. Let's look at the VIX. Okay, we saw a nice drop in the VIX. So this is bullish. When we see drops in the VIX like this, we gotta be buying. Let's see, that big on Tuesday. When was Friday at? Monday, October. Yeah, there it is. Friday, VIX up, market downside. It's kind of flat. It's kind of declining here. Yeah, VIX is not too bad, just declined, so that's good there. Let's see, triple Q. Yeah, not too bad. We'll just leave the position there and let it run. Pretty bullish today on the market. I was looking long for the majority of it, so good to see that that's working out there. Additionally from that, we will also be having a new video tomorrow at 1 p.m., which I know many of you guys have interest in. It's a very important stock. Not really a meme stock, but it's been having a lot of upside, and I do believe that with our complete analysis of the technicals and the overall price levels, we can give you a good price and allow for better returns here. So apart from that, I think that will be the closure for today, and we will continue to live stream every single day, starting at around 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, in order to get a little bit of what the market is doing, get a little bit of heads up, and then trade that hour. I mean, that around 30 to 45 minutes from 6:30 all the way on out. We can keep discussing about trades, etc., so that we're on the same boat here. So apart from that, hope you guys have a nice